The New Zealand government is removing the transit visa requirement for Fijians travelling through the country. Christopher Luxon has made the announcement at a joint press conference with his Fijian counterpart, Sitiveni Rambuka. Mr. Luxon says Fijians will now be able to transit via New Zealand on standard transit entry requirements.
New Zealand, as you know, is a significant transit hub for Pacific travellers, including Fijians, and the removal of those requirements will significantly reduce the barriers for regional travel, facilitating regional integration and reducing the barriers for businesses in other Pacific countries, many of whom rely on Fijian labour and connections. And it will also make it much easier for Fijian nationals to transit via New Zealand to reach other destinations much further afield.
Christopher Luxon has also announced a cash injection of almost 27 million New Zealand dollars for various projects in Fiji. Sitiveni Rambuka described Fiji and New Zealand as close.
Next year marks a significant milestone as we celebrate 55 years of diplomatic relations between Fiji and New Zealand. And also, since his arrival, we have been reaffirming our commitment.
RNZ's political reporter Giles Dexter, who was covering the Pacific trip, spoke to Moira Tuileipa Taylor about the visit.
I mean, the moment we landed, Fiji really pulled out all the stops on the whole drive from the airport to the hotel where Christopher Luxon was welcomed with a Sevu Sevu ceremony. There were billboards all along the road, massive billboards with his face on saying, "Welcome, Christopher Luxon." And the Sevu Sevu was, fascinating. I've never seen one before, and neither had Christopher Luxon. He sat there. He occasionally would lean across to Prime Minister Rambuka and ask what was happening in front of him. When the kava was presented to him, he said that he did grimace a little bit, but later told us that that he did enjoy it. And then he had dinner with the Prime Minister and his wife, and then today was the bilateral. And what really came out of that was just sort of, Christopher Luxon's international approach seems to be that if you want, by boosting the partners' economies, it boosts everyone's economy, boosts New Zealand's economy as well. And so this commitment to increase trade to $2 billion by 2030, was sort of a big flex that, that he wants New Zealand to be seen as a big power in the Pacific. And then this, changing the rules again so that people in transit in New Zealand no longer have to have a visa was another sort of just gesture thing. It didn't actually go quite as far as Prime Minister Rambuka would have liked. He actually kind of wanted visa-free travel, on arrival to New Zealand for anyone from Fiji. It didn't quite go that far though.
And they seem to be quite friendly at the press conference, just all on the same wavelength about climate change and also obviously the fight against drugs as well.
Yeah, I think everyone in the Pacific realizes that climate change is the biggest threat to security in the region. And so any announcements that happen, in any Pacific countries usually come with a little bit of funding to help fight climate change. They do get along very, very well. There was plenty of sports chats. Christopher Luxon sort of pointing out Prime Minister Rambuka's history as a Commonwealth Games athlete. In the exchanging of gifts, Prime Minister Rambuka gave Christopher Luxon a Fijian Drua shirt as a joke about Luxon's Crusaders being knocked out, and he gave Prime Minister Rambuka a harmonica, which we were told was one of 3 of its kind in New Zealand, and Prime Minister Rambuka showed off his skills with it, which was quite impressive. And then on some of the more serious issues like drugs, they've both sort of acknowledged that it is a problem for both countries, and wanting to do more to sort of fight that. Christopher Luxon back home in New Zealand is big talking up on law and order, and he sort of bolstered that here. One of the events that we've been to while we've been here is visiting the police dog academy, which has been sort of partly funded by New Zealand as a way of sort of more drug detector dogs at Fiji's border, because Fiji is sometimes seen as a way to get drugs through further on to New Zealand.
And just how did you think the Prime Minister handled Niue and Fiji first Pacific trip into the region? Just did he feel comfortable and confident about the space that he was entering?
Yeah, it kind of felt like being back on the campaign again. Christopher Luxon likes to sort of talk to every single person and ask them about their day, or about what they're wearing or something like that. And he sort of goes along, trying to talk to everyone, trying to move them on from one place to another can sometimes be quite difficult for his staff. But Niue was quite a deliberate choice for his first nation in the Pacific that he wanted to visit, acknowledging that it's been 50 years of that free association. And so a lot of the conversations were looking at the past and how to set it up for the future, coming in with this big $20 million fund to help get its electricity renewable, because that was seen as one of the biggest issues facing Niue at the moment with all those power outages that have been happening lately. This will be a way that they want to get rid of it. And that's, again, just sort of seen as New Zealand helping helping other countries with what they want New Zealand to help it with, and then that sends a message to other countries that are investing in the Pacific that New Zealand, that Christopher Luxon wants to see New Zealand as the dominant partner, the partner of choice to the Pacific.